Oh, thank you very much. How are you?
Doing good, Gloria. I know you've been very busy. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. I guess this is my first question to you when I hear this story about this verdict and what the jury decided. Are you amazed, as I am, at Bill Cosby's team saying that this was a victory? Bill Cosby using the term "booyah" when it's so bizarre because this is a verdict that confirms that Bill Cosby sexually assaulted a minor. Have you ever seen anything like this before? A
N-
response, a reaction like this?
No, I have not. And I'd like never to see it again because it's bizarre that Bill Cosby's spokesperson and who represents Bill Cosby would claim victory for a jury verdict that, as you said, found that he sexually abused a child,
Mm-hmm.
that he sexually battered a child, and awarded $500,000 in compensatory damages to my client, Judy Huth, for her pain and suffering. So that is taking, trying to make a victory and out of the jaws of significant defeat in which Mr. Cosby finds himself once again. I don't buy it. It's going to be part of his legacy, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be part of his obituary, likely, that a jury found that he sexually battered a 16-year-old. And, he can't, he just can't make lemonade out of this lemon.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Why is it you think that the jury did not award the $10 million settlement that could have been made? Why do you think they made the decision on the $500,000?
Well, you know what? We didn't ask for any amount in punitive damages. We didn't get to that stage. And this was never about money anyway. It was about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It was about a finding that what our client said was true. And what happened to her is, she was just a 16-year-old high school kid playing frisbee in the park in Lacey Park with her 17-year-old girlfriend.
Right.
And they happened in 75, they saw a movie being shot at Lacey Park. And they used to go to Lacey Park frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like any teenagers would, they went to take a look at, okay, which film is being made there and who are the actors in it. And Bill Cosby saw them there and he came up to them. He was very, very nice to them. And he chatted with them. And he learned they were, high school girls. And in any event, he invited them to, he said, what are you doing next weekend, according to the testimony, next Saturday? Nothing, of course, is what the teenagers said. And he said, would you like to come to the Hollywood Tennis Club and watch me play? Which they did. They were excited.
Mm-hmm.
They watched him play. And then the next thing he said, would you like to have lunch? Of course, they said yes. Next thing he says, well, go to my home or wherever it was he was staying. And they went there. And then he said he had to pick up some clothes, which he did for the evening, a benefit he was going to. And then he said, I have a surprise for you. Get in your car and follow my car.
Mm.
And so they did. And then the next thing they see him talking into an intercom and they hear him say, follow, just follow me, let them in. They're with me is what I think the testimony was.
Right.
They go in, they still don't know where they are. And it turns out it's the Playboy Mansion in the game room.
Oh my God.
And that's where he ends up assaulting my client, Judy Huff. But people ask me, well, why did they go to the Playboy Mansion? They didn't know they were going to the Playboy Mansion.
Right. That makes sense to me. I had people ask me the same questions yesterday when I told people you were coming on. It's just despicable. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with attorney Gloria Allred. So you've represented, sadly, Gloria, you've represented a lot of these clients that have been sexually assaulted, raped by Bill Cosby, drugged. We've had Lisa Latte Lublin and her wonderful husband in studio here a bunch of times. You've seen the pain that these women have gone through over the years. So if you were in a room with Bill Cosby right now, I know Cosby wasn't in the courtroom. If you were in a room with Bill Cosby right now behind closed doors, I'm curious, what would you say to him?
By the way, in a way, he was at the trial because we took his deposition prior to his being criminally prosecuted in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And we showed parts of that deposition. on video, him on video in the courtroom to the jury and to the public. And that's where he said, oh, if he had known someone was under 18, he wouldn't have taken, you know, he wouldn't have gone out with them. But in any event, yeah. So what was your question?
I'm just curious. You've seen the pain and the suffering that he has put all these women through. It's just horrible. I'm wondering if you were in a room with Bill Cosby right now. What would you say to him? Yeah,
I would say that you know, it's time for him to fess up, essentially, and acknowledge what the jury acknowledged in our case, that he did in fact sexually, you know, assault our client, Judy Huth. By the way, he said in the deposition that he didn't, you know, he didn't remember ever meeting Judy Huth. Okay. Meanwhile, we blew up and showed in the courtroom 2 big photos of him with her at the Playboy Mansion. Yeah. You know, by the way, she's not the only teenager that he is alleged to have attacked.
Oh, I believe.
We had another witness who testified in the case. Her name was Kim Burr. And she alleged that when she was 14 years old, that she met Bill Cosby and that he invited her, and we showed a picture of her when she was 14, cute little blonde-haired girl, looked like she was 12. And he invited her and her family to be extras on a movie set. Yeah. Same movie that he was filming when he met Judy Huth, same year. It was called Let's Do It Again. Right. And he said, you and your family want to be extras? And they said, yes, that would be great. They went to the movie set, and she testified that after they were there, he said to her, oh, would you come into my trailer with me and help me to fix my bow tie? Oh. And she testified that she said yes, and she went in there and he slammed the door, and she testified that he grabbed her, kissed her, and stuck his tongue down her throat.
In a way,
14 years old.
In a way, it sounds a little bit like the behavior of some others in Hollywood. You know, I think of Harvey Weinstein, right? And all the people, for the most part, all the people around Weinstein have disassociated themselves with him. Same thing with Kevin Spacey. Why is it, Gloria, that Bill Cosby's own wife and his inner circle constantly seem to be defending him? Do you really think that Cosby's family thinks that he's completely innocent and he never sexually assaulted a woman his entire life?
I don't know what his wife thinks, but I know that Camille has been his business manager as well for more than 50 years, I think, as you know, in addition to being his wife. And so, you know, I don't want to criticize her. Life is complicated, especially for married women. But, you know, she obviously has an economic interest in him and his future, not to say that she doesn't love him. I don't know what she believes. But having said that, you know, Harvey Weinstein's a little different because bad as it is, and it is bad with Harvey Weinstein. And as you know, I represented the key victim in the Harvey Weinstein criminal case. I also represent 2 of the alleged victims in the Los Angeles criminal case that is still pending and awaiting a trial. You know, there's no allegation that he attacked a minor, Harvey Weinstein.
That's true.
I mean, here, this is, you know, to me, what, you know, child sexual abuse is very serious as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure it is for you.
Absolutely.
As well, Brian, and for many in your audience. So, you know, that's not a laughing matter. It's not a laughing matter when an adult attacks another adult, and it certainly is not when an adult sexually batters or assaults a child. So it's very different, and it's time for Bill Cosby to take it seriously. You know, he says, oh, you know, his spokesperson says all kinds of things that make no sense. You know, like, oh, we'll never collect. Well, you know, we're very persistent. We are very persistent, and we know how to go after people. So look, the jury, this is important. And not only is it important for that reason, because we'd like to collect for our client, more important even than that, both to Judy and us, is the fact that his attorney has said many times that Bill Cosby is challenging the whole new law in California, which allows an extended period of time, statute of limitations, for adults to file civil lawsuits because they were sexually abused as a child. In other words, to sue sexual predators. He wants that declared unconstitutional. That would affect not only Judy, but all of what could be hundreds of thousands of child victims in this state. That's how bad it is.
You'd be protecting rapists and sexual assaulters. That's really what that is. If you're just joining us, Attorney Gloria Allred on the line. I want to ask you this, Gloria. You've been doing this for a very, very long time. Do you think it's getting any better for victims of sexual assault? Do you think it's getting any better for people to come forward and be able to do it? Because this happened back in 1975. And I am never one of those people that would say, oh, why didn't she come forward earlier? Why now? I'm not one of those people. There's a lot of people like that out there. There are a lot of reasons, as you know, why victims of sexual assault, victims in any circumstance, are afraid to come forward. They all have their reasons. Do you think it's easier now, or any easier than maybe it was 10, 20, 30 years ago, for women victims of sexual assault to be able to feel comfortable to come forward?
For some, yes. For many, no. And particularly where it's child sexual abuse. I mean, I've been practicing law since 1975, so I see the whole arc of what happens here. And yes, there are more people speaking out. You're right about that in 2022 than ever before. And I certainly have more people calling me, wanting me to represent them to get confidential settlements without a lawsuit against, those who sexually assaulted them when they were children, and we can do that. And some who want me to just file lawsuits, and in an appropriate case, depending on where it is, when it was, and what the evidence is, we can do that. So more people, I think, are aware that they do have rights. They don't have to just depend on the criminal justice system, which often fails them, and they have no control over it because the prosecutor can decide to file a case, criminal case, or not. But even if not, they could still file a civil lawsuit like Judy did. No criminal case for her because it was too late to file a criminal case. But, she could still prevail on a civil case. So good news and bad news. Bad news is child sexual abuse is still severe. It's rampant. It's still happening as we speak. The good news is more, adults know that they have rights because they were child victims of sexual abuse, and that they can make the perpetrator accountable in a court of law.
Gloria, I just want to ask you a couple more quick questions, maybe on a broader scale. What does it say about this country, Gloria, that our former president, Donald Trump, had 25 plus women that accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife, by the way, in court documents. And yet he was still voted in as president of the United States, and people still would support him. I guess it's sort of a political question too, but I mean, what does that say about where we're at in this country right now?
It is a political question. And he did not win the most popular votes. Hillary won 3 million more than he did. He managed to win the electoral votes. And look, I think his day is coming in terms of having to be accountable. He has numerous lawsuits filed against him for many, many, many things. We have the January 6th committee in Congress looking into his role in the insurrection, the attack on our very democracy on January 6th and on our Capitol in Washington. I'm looking forward to his having to pay the consequences for his actions, because he pushed us to the brink that we might not even have had a democracy had he gotten another 4 years. So, I'm patient. He will pay the price, whether it'll be criminal, whether it'll be civil, whether it'll be a combination of both. I don't know, but I know he has to
ask you about that with your
Yes.
legal expertise, Gloria. Do you think that Garland will do the right thing, and do you believe that there will be criminal charges against Donald Trump?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know all of the evidence that United States, the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, has uncovered. My sense is the investigation is ongoing. Whether he thinks, as he gets all of the evidence that he thinks he needs, whether and some of it will be from the January 6th committee, but I'm sure he's got his own as well. Whether he thinks that he can prevail in a court of law and get a unanimous jury to find beyond a reasonable doubt that former President Trump committed the crimes that he may be charged with, that's a whole other question. Maybe it involves politics as well. I don't know. It should be just a legal decision. But Merrick Garland, a former federal judge, is certainly aware of what it takes to prevail in a case. My guess is he won't bring a case unless he thinks he has a good chance of prevailing.
I have to ask you, with your legal expertise, what do you make of the situation in Uvalde, Texas? I would imagine you must have an opinion on it. I mean, what a horrendous situation. I want to get your thoughts on that. You're one of the most well-known attorneys in this country, really in the world. What are your thoughts on the way the police acted, the cover-up? It certainly appears to be a cover-up. I spoke to the former DA of Uvalde, who was on the show last week, who believes it's a cover-up. Gloria, what do you make of this whole situation?
It's definitely heartbreaking. Look, I was before I became an attorney, I was a teacher in public schools for 6.5 years. In addition, I was a credentialed high school principal. I love kids, and this is just the worst. I thought it was very suspicious, Brian, when I think it was the first day or maybe it was the second day. It was very early on when a spokesperson, I think, for the state police came out and started giving all kinds of facts and evidence, and you know, they're all suggesting that law enforcement had done a great job. And I thought to myself, this is very strange, because ordinarily in a high profile shooting like that, they're not going to give facts. They're not going to give evidence till they've completed an investigation. So what's this all about? And why are they doing it? And where's the prosecutor? Because even though the suspect, of course, was killed, but still, wouldn't they want to know everything before they tell, you know, the public, these heartbroken parents and other family members, what's really going on? There's something strange going on here. And sure enough, it was because it appears that there was some kind of cover up. Why, I don't know. We have to get to the end. Who did it? Why? How, were there others who did it? Was the governor just trying to make himself look good? Did he know or did he not know what was really going on? We don't know what evidence, you know, we had of it. So, you know, there's more to be learned yet, but it's very, very disturbing. If, in fact, for example, that door was not locked and they didn't go in, and why didn't that commander have his radio? I mean, who goes to a scene like that without a radio, even though, you know, perhaps he had other reasons, like he thought he couldn't pull out his gun if he had his radio. I don't know. But, you know, to keep getting these different versions of events, and thank God for the press who are getting to the heart of it. And the idea that the state legislators have this behind closed doors hearing, and those who have the most stake in wanting to know what happened, these parents and grandparents of the children who were just brutally murdered, you know, they should be the first ones who have a right to know what happened. So, yeah, it's disturbing. I'm sure there'll be, my guess is there are going to be lawsuits. I think they're more so than now. I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Gloria, last question for you, and really appreciate your time. Can you talk to me a little bit these days, the relationship between paparazzis and celebrities out there in LA? You've represented some of the photographers that are members of the media, paparazzi, that have been assaulted by celebrities, including a Kanye West case. Can you just explain to me, has there been, it seems like we haven't heard as many of these stories lately as maybe we've had years ago. Because celebrities, it appears to me, they're being held accountable, like the Kanye West of the world, some of those lawsuits, civil suits that you've won. Can you speak to that? And what is the relationship like these days between the paparazzi and celebrities, particularly in Los Angeles?
And by the way, I also represented Henry Trappler, who was, you know, a member of paparazzi, against Tommy Lee, Pamela Lee's husband, many years ago. And he was criminally prosecuted, but not with a strong enough sentence or crime. And then we also filed a lawsuit against him, fought him for a while, and ultimately settled it for our client, who was very satisfied with the settlement. But I would say it depends on the celebrity. Look, you know, they have a job to do these. They're photographers. Paparazzi is actually a frequently used word, but it's really negative. So I prefer photographers. Look, they're earning a living just like the celebrities are earning a living. Okay. Generally, you know, they're being, respectful in many ways. They don't, they get a bad rap is what I'm saying. Sometimes they push over the boundaries, and that's not right. But a lot of times they don't. They just want a good picture. That's what they get paid for. So I would say there's some, disrespectful behavior sometimes by some of the celebrities, for these photographers. Sure. I think celebrities should feel really blessed. They are so privileged to earn so much more than most people will ever earn, and have to do less work, and certainly less strenuous and stressful work than most people will ever have to do. And most people earn very little for the work they do. They should feel blessed, and they should feel privileged, and they should be polite is all.
Well, Gloria, can I, just from what you're talking about, the Tom Hanks video, I'm sure you probably saw that his wife was tripped. It was accidental. Tom Hanks got angry. I understand he wants to defend his wife, but here's my response to that. And you tell me if you agree or not. The guy has to stand there for 30 seconds, sign 5 autographs, take 1 or 2 pictures. Now, I understand they're followed their entire life. They're bugged their entire life. I get that. But if you're going to continue to walk and you've got about 10 people following you, accidents happen. Why can't you just stand there for 10 seconds, take a couple pictures, sign 5 or 10 autographs? To the life of me, I don't understand that. You're in public. You haven't hired security guards. And then he starts screaming at the paparazzi. It was an accidental trip. Nobody got hurt. I don't really understand that.
Well, I mean, honestly, at the time that happened, I was so deeply into preparing our case for Judy against Bill Cosby that I heard about it, but I did not even bother to see it because I just was, when you try a case, it isn't just being in the courtroom. It's not like a criminal case. You have so much preparation to do, and we had to do it. So I missed that, but all I can say is my observation of Tom Hanks over the years is generally been a very polite person, low key, and I guess at some point he lost it that day. So, I'm not here to criticize him. I didn't see what happened, but all I can say is, the Rudyard Kipling poem about when when everyone is losing their head and blaming it on you. If you could keep calm while everyone else is losing their head and blaming it on you, then you are a man, my son, I would say also, or then you're a woman, my daughter. That's the way. I mean, I usually try to stay calm in a crisis because I find that I can think better and deal with the crisis if there is a crisis. But I can't say that I'd be perfect in every situation. And, we all have our limits, and sometimes things just trigger us. So we just have to do our best. That's all.
No question. Well, Gloria, you're one of the best in the business. I appreciate what you do in holding people accountable. I think that's very, very important. You hold people accountable for their behavior. Yes, the financials, you're making a living, and your client.
Yeah, I am.
But with that being said, you're holding people to the fire. You're holding them accountable. Sexual assault, that type of misbehavior cannot be tolerated anywhere in society. And I'm glad that there are attorneys out there like you that hold people to account. Gloria Allred, you're always great with your time with us. I appreciate you. Please
thank you so much. And thanks for having Lisa Lott-Lubin and her husband Ben on. We love them. They're great. And thanks for helping them to have a voice.
Absolutely. I always will. Thank you, Gloria. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Appreciate that. Gloria Allred, always generous with her time on this show.